Horrible. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We got a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so remember, you have a full bibliography with every single article, tweet, video, picture, document on it. All you have to do is go to our website and look for today's thumbnail. This fire is making us question reality, and more so, we're questioning the narrative reality, of course, but apocalyptic scenes all over California. Once you go to the website, you'll see that there's a full source list, so if you have any questions of where any of this came from, you can go right there. That will also be in the show links right down below, alongside any affiliate. If you see something that you like, it helps support our independent channel. We're completely on our own. And again, there are no replacements if something happens to us. By the way, it is a little bit later. I actually announced all week that we were not going to be doing a show tonight. There is important things tonight. So I did have a dental procedure today, and it went way better than I thought it was going to be. So we're here. I didn't get home until I think 6:30. So we got this thing going, and we're going to get it on. So first of all, the LA's iconic Hollywood Boulevard is evacuated as fire erupts in celebrity epicenter. Now, I know that not too many people really feel bad for these multi-millionaires, but scattered in between are a lot of people that actually own some of these homes that have not sold or have basically held on to their homes since before this was really, a horrible place with horrible people in it. Now, even if there is a ton of horrible people there, I don't think many of us ever wish, this kind of thing on anyone. I actually have a personal family member, my second cousin, that just lost their entire livelihood, their home, everything is gone, and it happened very quickly. This fire really, really caught a lot of people off guard. Of course, there is things swirling around the internet, as I expected. But as far as, satellite images showing 3 fires popping up almost simultaneously, dozens and dozens and dozens of miles away, there was huge, huge winds, which people question as well. But as far as how fast this thing has destroyed is absolutely insane. And again, I expect these things because I've told my friends and family, like, hey, you need to get prepped and prepared, especially like anybody that was watching our show in LA or in Palisades. It's like you don't expect something that bad to happen. You don't expect a fire to wipe your life away, but that is exactly what can happen. Preppers live kind of a life, whether you are an amateur or an expert, you live a kind of way where you look at the possibilities and you try to prepare for them. It's just like preparing for a test that you're going to have at some point. And again, it's kind of like how our life has been. Especially in the last 10 years, we've had event after event. Now, we're also going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about a missing opposition runner who they say Venezuelan leader may have taken, like straight up just taken her somewhere and are holding, or she might never pop up again. The National Guard have been called in to help exhausted firefighters battling 6 separate fires as the skies of Los Angeles turn apocalyptic red and fill with smoke. 2 new blazes broke out on Wednesday night in the Hollywood Hills and Studio City, forcing first responders to redeploy their already scarce resources. Now, no joke, there are some of the stupidest videos and some of the craziest videos out there, and it looks like they're actually real, but I could not believe seeing one video where a firefighter and somebody else are actually taking handbags, purses. One is literally a purse, a big black purse, and going up to the fire truck, getting water from the fire truck, and then taking it over to a small kind of little shed thing that covers a garbage can and pouring it on there. And it makes you think, like, well, why? Well, it is very crazy, especially considering we absolutely know over in Ukraine that almost every fire station over there has been fully equipped. And guess where a lot of that has come from? Us. It is absolutely insane that, people are joking and saying, oh my gosh, JB just ended up releasing $500 million for the victims of this. And then saying, just kidding, that's for Ukraine. It's so sad that that's funny, and it is so sad that that is true. We're going to cover this and so much more on tonight's episode. And again, thank you for your patience. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. From burning bridges. Hopefully you understand this easy mission. You got your weapon, but you haven't chipped in. The ones that should be running politicians. Not for office, but from burning bridges. Hopefully you understand this easy mission. You got your weapon, but you haven't chipped in. The ones that should be running politicians. Not for office, but from burning bridges. Hopefully you understand this easy. All right, and remember, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/friends. You have a whole list of awesome mods. If you're in the chat right now, you are probably talking to one of them. They are all really great people. They've all been with this channel for a very long time, so they can answer most of your questions. If not, there is always Dex that pops in from time to time. Speaking of which, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have, first of all, this LA fire. The video of them using purses to put out fires is absolutely crazy. More so, this apocalyptic Mordor scene, which actually I put it in the thumbnail, that's a real clip from a real video taken up on the hill. Now, I've only been through LA and been in LA a couple days. My sister is down there. She's not in the bad area, I do not believe. In fact, one of her places or something, my second cousin, which just had their whole house burnt down, they might have to go over to somewhere near my sister and try to rent a house or something, I guess. I've been getting updates this whole last couple days since it happened. But that was, sorry about that, guys. That was the apocalyptic scene, right? And it literally looks like something out of a movie. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. People have been enthralled by it, and what's crazy is everywhere I went, including the dentist's office today, or the endodontist, root canal stuff, everywhere I went, it was like people were talking about it. It was like, oh, are you watching this? Everybody is watching this. So one thing I want everybody to keep in mind, when there is something that is this horrible and that is this questioned, one, I would highly recommend to keep your eye on the back page stuff that's going on behind all of this. Keep your eye on what's happening in the background. And two, get prepared, because this time is better than any time to get started. Don't think because you haven't done it this whole time and you've procrastinated that it's too late to prepare. Again, anything is better than nothing. And I know so many people right now that if something really bad goes down, and a lot of us believe that there is something on its way, then you can do a little bit at a time. You don't have to break the bank. You don't have to sell your house and dig a hole. You just got to get a little bit of stuff at a time. And I promise you, you will thank yourself for doing so. Especially food and water. It's been recommended from not only ourselves, but everyone. But yet how many people actually do it, that's a whole different story. All right, and Dex, so this LA fire, this is just, it's getting so absolutely insane. And speaking of which, did you see that there are claims and there are videos stating that people were actually trying to start more? Did you see that?
Well, yeah, there's certainly a lot of people pointing the finger at potential arson as the cause of this, and they haven't actually come out and said what has started any of them, but there are plenty of people thinking that this could be something bigger going on if they're finding that people are actually doing this and they're doing it on purpose. That's a big deal, and I wonder who is actually behind it. If there are people responsible for doing this, who's behind it? What are their motives? Are they there? Is this another form of, you know, attack on people, or is this, just a mad person being mad, or or are they going to blame some group that the DHS and the feds like to create narratives around here in America?
Exactly. In the next coming days, are we going to get some sort of quote intelligence that says that this was started by another party? Now, what the craziest thing is that this not only can take lives, it can cause the country billions of dollars of damage. So it should not be out of the question to be able to ask that question. First of all, a lot of people have a theory about stuff coming from up above and going zzz and doing all that. Again, none of us will ever know the truth on a lot of this stuff, because anything like that would never get caught on tape, or I don't even believe it can be caught on tape. Everything that has been shown to look like it has actually ended up being something else. So whatever technology that people believe exists, I guarantee you it would be invisible if it does. And a lot of people are talking about the different things that are going on here. One of the things I want to point out is that this is one of the easiest things to do. Think about what we are constantly afraid of, and they're telling us to be afraid of people walking into a school or walking into a grocery store with a weapon. What if you could do more damage by sitting off in a bush with a lighter and then starting something during a windstorm? That is incredibly easy to do. Anybody could do it, including somebody with a full-on suit and sunglasses. And then they could say, hey, this is something that's coordinated and targeted. Why did those videos come out of them hinting towards like, oh, somebody's back behind that wall starting something? I don't know. But one thing I do know is that this is affecting millions of people, and it is bad. Dex, go ahead.
Well, not only is it easy in the sense of, like you just said, taking, a lighter in a bush, or even just a small accelerant and starting something, it's also predictable. Like, they knew that there had been no rain in this area for many, many months. They knew it was dry, but they also knew that there was a prediction of this heavy windstorm coming through. And they even warned people about the fact that there was going to be fire. And everybody was mad at the mayor because they warned the mayor this was going to happen or potentially could happen, and she left to go to some, ceremony in Africa. And but the point is that for a T group, so to speak, or somebody who's wanting to cause harm, it's really easy to take an event like this because, like you said, it doesn't require a lot of overhead. It doesn't require a lot of planning. It just requires the right timing. And the timing is pre-announced because they talk about it in advance, and you know what the situation is.
I mean, think about it. Anybody could watch the weather and say, oh, there's going to be, super, super wind in LA or super, super wind anywhere in the country. And think about this. California experiences this a lot. We, of course, had this a few years ago, which was absolutely horrid. People still have questions about that. I think that there are going to be people that go to their graves still having questions about that. The events that happened off of the islands, the American territories of Hawaii, right? Those have a lot of questions, and people are comparing. But just remember that, well, everybody is so enthralled with this. If it is across the board on every single news station, and it is literally the same words, same descriptions all over the board, then a lot of the times that can be an op. Even though it is a real event, it could also be something that psychologically takes you out of the picture, makes you totally forget about what else is going on in the background, which we have some background stories here that I think are important and that you guys should pay attention to here in just a minute. If you are affected by these fires, send us video. If you have video, if you're safe, of course. If you have doorbell cams, some of the craziest doorbell cams. One gentleman, right before his power went out, he already evacuated. In his bedroom, you could see the flames right outside of his sliding glass door. And he said, this is the last shot I got before my power went off. So there are so many crazy things like that. If you have a video like that, send it to us. We will show it. We will share it. A lot of people that ended up having their houses burnt down did not have insurance. Luckily, my second cousin actually was one of the few that actually got it. And from what I hear, they ended up spending a ton of extra money to actually keep it and to get it. They had some of the best insurance out there, but it was harder to get. We talked about this months ago. In fact, Dex, like you said, that this is something that was forewarned. There's a lot of clips out there talking about how people talked about specifically California, from it burning all the way from here, all the way to the sea. And a lot of people predicted this scenario because this is this dry area with hot everything, and then you also have this crazy weather that's all of a sudden started. You saw Ilea, one of our mods. I don't know if Ilea, if you're here, but you sent me that clip or that post about a tornado off of the West Coast. You guys had a tornado right off the water in California. Growing up, I never heard of this stuff. I know that you've had a couple little tiny ones, but that's what's starting to happen. And in the mainstream, they're saying, yeah, the planet's changing and it's changing so fast. We got to do something about it. We've got to get part of these groups. We got to change the way we live. And changing the way we live is also going to coincide with you losing a whole lot of your personal freedoms and everything else. So with that being said, this whole West Coast thing that's happening right now, this could happen anywhere. If this goes along that other path of they're saying that people are starting this on purpose, this, again, what if they end up calling it a T attack, right? This could be something that could happen anywhere. Anywhere with the future, the news guys saying, hey, it's going to be windy. We're going to get 40 miles an hour wind in Idaho or Iowa. This is something that could happen. When you have flames and high wind, you have an extremely, extremely scary situation, especially when there's fire. So regardless of if this is from space or if it is from a face, it is something that a lot of people, even if they did try to prepare for, they just weren't prepared for this. Especially those that lost their house, especially those that lost their insurance months before this. I mean, all of the insurance companies, all of these, we covered this just like 4 or 5 months ago, all out of nowhere, they all pull out. That to me, again, we talked about it. Dex, you said it was like a direct quote from you. You said, they have analysts and people that essentially are trying to predict the future. And why is that? Why are these insurance companies trying to predict the future? Why would that matter to them?
Well, they have to make money, or they have to at least break even. Some of them are mutuals, and they just need to, take in the same amount that they pay out. So they have actuarians that they pay to sit around and come up with these scenarios on risk. And where the risk is high or where the payouts are too high, they have to drop out. I mean, they do it with cars all the time. I mean, state by state, they always say you get your best car insurance just by changing every 6 months to a year, and bounce around from company to company, because when they get too many accidents in one state and they're paying out a lot, they raise the rates, because they got to make money. They got to break even at a minimum if they're not for profit. If they are for profit, then they got to make profits.
So when you see all of these insurance companies not raising their rates, but literally saying, we're not even going to cover you in California anymore, that to me is just weird. I can't believe that over this last year, they predicted this so freaking well. I mean, anybody that watches the news, and we've covered it for 7, 8 years now, I know that California, almost every time it comes around the season, something like this can happen. Especially in hot summers and things. That's when, we've gotten the really bad ones. But this was, to me, it was out of left field. And it is something that they've questioned. Now they say they have one in custody, is what is being said in chat. And they said the latest culprit is somebody in a white ski mask or a white guy in a ski mask. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. Again, very, very, very scary situation in California, and I'm praying for all of you that are still there. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the person in chat's name, but it's V, and then the last name is F. But he said breaking that one of the super scoopers was grounded because of a drone incident. So I looked it up real quick, and certainly a drone collided with a firefighting aircraft in the Palisades fire, according to the FAA. Obviously, that plane had to land. It did make a safe landing, but it was one of the super scoopers, as they call it, and it hit a small drone. Of course, there are people popping drones up everywhere to get the footage. Obviously, this is some never seen before, at least at this level footage. But talking about damage and the insurance companies, they're talking this is already at the 50 billion and possibly go 60 billion or more. It's going to be one of the most cost. It's probably going to be the costliest, probably because of the location and some of the expensive properties it hit. But of all time, that's a big deal.
Also, I want to point this out when we're speaking about FAA and the federal aviation and what's going on in the sky above California. The day that this all started and started going down, what I think is super sus is the fact that the Prez didn't visit down south when there was this huge crisis. Almost every media and every independent journalist, even both sides of the aisle, both agree that it was a crisis and that it was something big and bad. Even when they were denying it, a lot of them admitted it, right? Didn't go and visit. Immediately goes and visits, and on the local news, I thought this was actually kind of great. Local news, at least 3 different stations I watched covering the fire said, yeah, well, they can't, we can't cover this from the sky right now because the president's in town. The president's in town, so they have closed the airspace above this area. So that also meant that the fire planes and the things that were trying to help put out the fire could not be up in the sky. I thought that was crazy. Dex, was there any exceptions during that grounding of them closing the airspace? Because I didn't hear of any of that happening. They basically said, well, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll try to give you a better story from the aerial view.
No, I didn't hear that, but I also heard that while JB was there a few days back, he was signing a big deal to lock up about 850,000 acres of land in California to the feds. So they're saying it's in support of tribal nations there, but yeah, big land grab for the federal government.
And I hope that if they are saying that this is for Native Americans, well, then I hope they get that land. Better hope.
It was their land. Now it is becoming a Fed land, and they're saying that the Native Americans there wanted the feds to do it, even though they had control over it. So they can't use that land for anything like, if they were to find oil on it, they can't actually make money for the tribes now and mine that. Or if they find some mineral on it, they can't do that anymore. It's now federal protected land, no longer tribal land.
I don't want to offend anybody, so I'll ask this as a question to any of my Native American viewers out there. In your mind, does that kind of say to you, if that is what is true, if that is true at all, if they wanted the feds to take that land, first of all, that just sounds crazy. Would you think that person just more recently, or probably in the last 10 years, if you really dug deep, somebody in that group up higher in that structure got a paycheck somewhere, that somebody got paid off to be like, yeah, no, we want to give this away? What? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of any Native American group saying, no, we want to give the land back. Does that sound like common sense? I don't know. Dex, does that sound like common sense to you? Have you ever heard?
They word it in all sorts of interesting ways, but it's being considered a national monument, so therefore it becomes federal protected land, so that nothing can be done to it, even though it was already tribal land. And they said the tribal people were wanting it, or in the media they said that it was in cohorts with what the tribal nations wanted at each of the 2 different locations. One area was like 650,000 acres, and that was in like near Joshua Tree. And then there was another section, I think, up in Northern California that they did this to. But it's definitely it's a huge amount of land for the Fed to take over. And it ranks him up as one of the top presidents to grab as much land as he's done.
And the timing, and people are just supposed to be like, oh, well, no, they have an official story for it. A lot of people said sus, doesn't sound right, essentially along those lines. Fragile, I think that was Fragile that said if they are giving it up, and if they do want to give it up, then the land may be cursed, or it would be cursed. I guess could see it, but 850,000, you said 850,000 acres, correct?
It's two different lands. One of them was 644,000, and the remainder is the other land in Northern California. But it is a big land grab.
I'm not super involved. I don't, follow Native American news that often. But I have never heard of any Native American group saying, hey, we want to give this land back. I've only heard, hey, we want our land back in any condition. They want it to return it to the way it was. I've never heard of them saying, hey, we need you to take this land. Do they pay taxes on it or something? Or does it take away from their benefits? Does it take away from their rights? Like, what burden did this land have on them that was the story?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question to ask, but it was tribal land. But here's the thing. If the Fed now takes it as a national monument, do we have the money, resources, and people to actually manage that land? How many times do we take land in and then have to sell it back off because we can't manage it? It happens all the time. And so, yeah, I'll put, for those that want to dig into this one, I'll put a link on the website to the article on it. But yeah, it's rather fascinating when you think about it. I mean, at the surface level, most people are just like, nobody paid attention to it. But he was there, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden out of this comes this massive land grab. But I question if the Fed will even be able to support it. And we've seen in the past when they've done this, they've sold off federal lands, obviously to people who benefit from it later, which are typically in the government. I don't remember the names, but there's definitely been some Congress and Senate people who have ties to companies that end up purchasing the lands from the federal government when they sell them off, and then obviously go mine them.
Hey, here's the good news. People are worried about them building camps. Hey, I have kind of good news for you. If they do build anything, it will probably be shipped over to Ukraine. Like you said. I mean, like, oh, that's very worrying. Oh, wait, it's getting loaded up in a plane. Oh, and it's gone. And then a lot of people disagree with the fact, somebody else said, no, they did not want to give it up. I don't know what the fact is on that, but that is the word, right? So in this event, and Bobby Sue said, did anybody perish, right? Early on, it was at 5, so at least 5. What is the current toll? Do we have one? Is there a current number that has been put out there more recently? I know that there's going to be more. There's guaranteed. How fast it moved and how little warning they got. Like my second cousin, I guess they did tell them to go, but they had no idea that the fire would get anywhere near their house. All of a sudden, they got like a quick update, and they said, oh, no, now you have to even go further, and this is all happening right now. And by the time they were able to go check, it was all burnt down.
As of an hour ago, the number is 7. They're saying at least 7. Obviously, there's probably more they don't know about.
Yeah, so the number doesn't matter, because even if it was 0, right, the amount of land in California, which I believe is number 5 moneymaker for the entire country, not only do they have so many different programs in California, which some of you may benefit from, but they have so many things. In fact, I believe my sister may be one of them. She's got some sort of benefits from being in California and making under a certain amount, which I'm pretty sure that almost everybody takes advantage of there, because if they're going to be doing it, you're going to take it, right? But as far as over there, it's like they have money just going out the window. It's like they're trying to collapse California. On top of that, all of this damage done, even if no one perished, and we were 2 weeks later and not a single person was harmed, there is still huge damage done to the United States. Dex, go ahead.
There's so much damage in these areas, and a lot of these people, they have these big McMansions and things like that in the area. They're going to get paid. They're going to get their big insurance claims, because a lot of them did have insurance, even though it was canceled, and they had to go get the higher insurance. But they're going to get paid, and they're going to move. They're not going to necessarily rebuild right there. And I think what you're going to see, and we've seen this before in other situations like this, is, again, talking about land grab. Who comes in? Pay attention to the benefactors of the LLC corporations that come in and start buying up all these, pieces of property that have, a charred shell laying on it, because it also becomes an environmental thing. And they say you got to get it cleaned up. And if you own it, you need to sell it off quickly so that somebody can come through and clean it up. Somebody's going to be buying up all those properties, and then see what happens with it, and see who the benefactors are of that property buy. Because I guarantee you they're going to get it on the cheap after the insurance companies have paid off these, in this, probably one of the big 4 California families that are well known, that have, basically taking the money off of everybody in California are going to be the ones buying this up and then doing something specific with it later, getting it on the cheap and then reflipping it or mining it or something. There's something going on with that, I promise you.
By the way, I just wanted to show you pictures of all of these beautiful black rocks. They are very, very, very cool. I like collecting rocks, specifically black ones. And just wanted to veer off to the side for a second, go completely away from what we're talking about, and talk about something completely unrelated. So we will be watching to see who ends up snatching up any kind of damaged goods, and we will let you know. If you want to get the update on that, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to all. All right, and then great. They said I'm buffering again. I hope that it's not buffering for everybody. Sometimes all you need to do is back out and go back in. But I will say, what a perfect time for that. All right, good. What a perfect time for that, right? And then Iran puts on a show of force with war games ahead of T-Man's second term. So we are now 11 days away from Inog, and we are going to have the Dawn put back into place. If we can make it another 11 days, that's, of course. And now Iran is doing all of these big shows. The same time all these fires are going on, I'm sure it's not a coincidence that they are showing this across the medias, saying Iran, Iran, Iran. They're doing scary stuff, scary stuff, scary stuff. And in the back of people's heads, they're going to go, oh, no, they're getting ready for something, which I believe this is all connected, and they probably are, and there's something massive about to happen. But part of these things and part of these ops, and people think that all of these events are just fake. A lot of the time they are real events that end up, they're guided. They're guided or they're controlled events, right? I'm not saying that any of these things are, but that's usually what it is. So it will be a real event. There will be real people involved. There will be real people that are hurt. There will be real people that were there for it, that lived the disaster. And then later you find out that one thing or another that led up to it was carefully guided, or somebody held the hand of the disaster right up until it jumped off the cliff. Iran's military forces were 4 days into extensive drills on Wednesday that many believe are essentially preparations for how the country could react to a U.S., Israel, or combined attack on its nuclear facilities. Brigadier General Mohammad Nazar Azimi, commander of the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Najib Ashaf, West headquarters, has touted the nationwide drills as including, quote, new weapons and equipment, which you can almost guarantee we are going to see stories stating that Russia had a hand in it, or they're trading with North Korea, or something is going on, right? You're going to see Chinese technology in Iran. Almost guarantee that we're going to be covering stories just like that in mainstream media in a few days. Some Iranian analysts who are critical of the government and spoke to CBS on the condition of anonymity said that the drills may be a demonstration of power by Iran, prompted by the dramatic changes in the balance of power in the Middle East. Of course, talking about how Syria got taken over in 11 days. 11 days. That is insane. And they want you to believe that it was just HTS, a group of about 3,000 to 5,000 members that took over an entire country. It was, again, they have told us, oh no, that group actually got together everybody. They all united like aliens were coming down, like they united like humanity would, only in a terrorist way. Like, hey, you hate them? Oh, I hate Americans too. You hate these guys? Oh, I hate them. It's basically they're in a hate circle, and they're like, cheering Kumbaya or something. I don't know. But it does look like there is some fishy business going on here. Of course, the power takeover in Syria has now put everything on its head. And again, just like I said, these are things that could be guided carefully. It's no coincidence that the media totally pulled back from covering and did not put on the front page that essentially the U.S. did tons and tons of strikes during that same time period, and you had Israel doing strikes in that same time period. At the same time, the guy that was leading it all of a sudden has an image change. He used to be part of Al-Qaeda, then is all of a sudden this revolutionary blazer-wearing guy. You had across-the-board media covering about how he's now changed, he's grown up, he's now a positive force, and now people look up to him and all of this. People look up to the paychecks. I think that these groups got paid, and it's no coincidence to me that even, in my opinion, Ukraine sent them drones right as this stuff was happening, and that the U.S. sent out millions and millions and millions of dollars in between just a weird time period. They're like, oh, yeah, by the way, we're giving another $375 million out. Right after that, you have all of these groups miraculously get along and take over Syria. That flipped it on its head. That is one of the first steps that, looking back in history, will be the official start of World War. Remember, they didn't say World War II was World War II officially in headlines until much later into the actual war. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, real quick before we move on, though, the one of the key features of the ongoing Great Prophet 19 is the name of their military exercise, by the way, was they were simulating aerial assaults on Iran's Natanz nuclear facility with a fictional strike, seeing an enemy hit the plant with a bunker buster, the type of weapon that Israel or the U.S. would use on the target. So they are prepping for that because they know it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. It is insane what is about to happen, and so many outside of our community are just completely blind to it. They are following whatever the media puts in front of them. Page 1, they never turn the page to look at what's going on. Page 2, page 3, page 5, and even in the comics. Stephen Click, Psalms, the wicked shall be turned into hell, and any nation that forgets God. I'm being massively censored by the extra info. Data won't let me post. There's a lot of stuff that you can't do in specifically super chats. I'm sorry. Yeah, that really sucks. Stephen Clay, I just tried to super chat. Was it Paul? It was either Paul or I don't know if it was Paul or Jacob Israel, but I couldn't say a simple word. I'm trying to remember the word I couldn't say. And I know it was this word because I did the exact same sentence. I think I even posted something that was like, didn't even make sense without that word, just to make sure that it wasn't that word. What was that word? I will have to look back and see if I can see that. It was the stupidest word, and I don't understand that. Stephen Click, I'm with you 100%. I'm being massively censored in Super Chat. It won't let me say extremely important messages. Stephen Click, email us, adam@marfooglenews.com, or if you want it to be seen right now, you could email dex@marfooglenews.com. Again, might not be able to get to it today, but we can definitely get it. Shauna May, thank you for your support, and thank you guys, everybody that has been patient and everybody that could stay up a little bit later for tonight's show. We have been going on earlier. I've been trying my hardest. As you guys know, I've got 4 kids and a whole other day life, so I do appreciate everybody sticking with us late, especially East Coasters, because I know it's late there. Psalms, the wicked will be turned into hell. Stephen Click, thank you again. I did get that one, so that one did go through. Twice or 3 times. The wicked shall be turned into hell. See, I did get that one too. And then LAPD SWAT, thank you. And then Neil Nelson. A lot of the times, again, I just want to thank you for being here. But a lot of the times, it doesn't actually pop up when you do that. But thank you for gifting memberships. It actually did that time. Thank you so much, Neil, and appreciate your support for the show. And thank you for using your gift to essentially gift others in the chat a membership. That's really special. Thank you. And by the way, is there anybody in chat that was personally affected by this fire? Is there anybody that is evacuated? I'm going to pop up the chat on screen here. Is there anybody here that knows somebody that has lost a house, lost their things, or is in the middle of moving around because they have been evacuated? I know we have a ton of California viewers. Obviously, we've got Ilea. Darth isn't here, but we got a lot of people from California. We actually, one of our largest groups when we had our Discord that met in person was our California groups. They were awesome. In fact, it makes me miss the old days. Last days, I used to live in those areas. Thank God I moved years ago. I saw somebody else say that they just moved in 2020 and they are glad they did. Well, I'm glad you did too, and I'm glad you're okay. Yes, have a coworker who lost home, Trisha Jarrett. Trisha, if you want to pop their name in there, for those that do want to do it, I will pray for your friend Trisha. My buddy's cousin lost his home. Pray for him as well. Cindy Kristen, I'm praying for California in general. Juanita, great. Bobby Sue, nice to see you. I'm an hour and a half away. Kimbria, I hope you stay an hour and a half away. Rocket 9, yes, my husband's cousin, her house was lost. It's crazy how the extended network of everybody, so many people have been affected by this thing. Mike Osetta, hey, nice to see you. Yo, Marf. Hey, and then M. St. G, prayers for them. Hey, that's awesome. RJ, Ben Fields, how are all you Fooglers? That is awesome. And Shadrach, thank you, and thank you. Dangerous Dax says the property is still worth a fortune. Yeah, I know. What's crazy is some of these $1 million houses, the property is worth more than the actual mansion. That is pretty incredible. I don't know if you saw the same news clip I did, but one guy's house was like a 4-story house. Apparently the land was worth 5 times as much as this 4-story mansion because of its spot, its location in L.A. Let's see here. Moved in 2020 after the complex fires from NorCal. Yeah, good decision. Seriously. And then when they stopped pulling, when they pulled the insurance, that should give you guys a heads up. And we called this too. I believe we called it directly, and it was just based off of the main story that was they're pulling all insurance. Do they know something we don't? I think was the title of the show. Is something going to happen to California? And now look. A lot of people predicted it because you didn't need a crystal ball. You just needed common sense. And Shatwisty, thank you guys. I'm praying for everybody that said that they had family members and people they knew, coworkers that were in California when this started going off. And who knows, it's continuing. All right, and then let's see here. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. If you're new here, this is a device that we have recommended for now years. This is a company we believe in. This is a company, before they got really big, they used to be able to send us Christmas videos every year with the entire factory, and Andrew would walk around and film everybody basically saying Happy Merry Christmas to the Foogle fam. But they have gotten much bigger. One, because after we ended up recommending this, they ended up getting huge contracts with the likes of agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team. That was under the executive order by Trump last time in office when he went into a secret meeting and all of a sudden came out and said, we need to harden the grid right now. There's a lot of possibilities. One of the main things, if we are ever to be attacked, and I hope we are never attacked, ever, and I hope we are as strong and as the modern day Rome and undefeatable for the time being as they say we are. But if they do, they're going to go for power and communications. Everybody knows it here. All the military knows it here. If they were to ever try to go after the sleeping giant, then they would go after our power. And every one of our adversaries, including all of these ones that are now working together, now signed treaties, now doing drills, now actually in wars like North Korea and Russia, they have the ability to do an EMP to the U.S. So I highly recommend going over to marfugglenews.com/EMP. Again, use code MARF. Not only will you save $50 off per device, so if you have to outfit 2 or 3 cars or a car, a generator, a home, a motorcycle, a boat, ham radio, whatever it is, they make a device for it, then you will save $50 off per device, and you're helping our independent channel. We are completely on our own. We're out in a lake, and we're surrounded by sharks and behemoths. So we do thank you guys not only supporting in the way of sharing, but again, if you want to protect yourself, if you're already going to do it through us, and then that will help everybody. You get a discount at the same time as helping. So thank you, but I do believe that this will end up saving lives. It will end up meaning the difference of you getting home to your family to bug in or getting out to bug out. If your car doesn't run or if your generator doesn't flip over, then what are you going to do? marfugglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Appreciate your patience. All of the ads and affiliates like this, at this point in 2025, is a necessity for all creators like us that cover this kind of stuff. So thank you. All right. And then Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado kidnapped. Dex, do you want to go over this? And this is a really important story that is probably not going to be even remembered.
Yeah, it is. So look, we've talked about her. This is the most influential opposition leader, as they call it. And they are saying that her allies have come out and said that she's been taken from the streets of Caracas. Now, she's been in hiding ever since the results came in from that selection process. And at the time, everyone had sort of claimed her as the victor. And then Maduro came in and said, oh, no, that's not the case. The numbers are this way. And a lot of people in a lot of countries, including the U.S., even question it and don't believe it. Thinking that she should be there. So now what they're saying is that the regime officials, as they're calling them, are the ones that took her. So in other words, Maduro has taken her off of the streets. She had left her hideout to go lead a major protest against as they call it, the authoritarian president, Nicolas Maduro. So I guess once she got out into public, they snatched her up, and now she has been taken. So that's about as much as we know outside of all the backstory that we've covered before about the whole, contesting of the results there and what it really means. And I guess there's a lot of people that are behind her. So the question is, what will come from this, right? That's what we have to pay attention. Will this cause any shift or any uprising, which they've seen? But as we've also noted over the last few months, Maduro has done a very good job of oppressing and going after anybody that is standing up. And that's why there's been a mass exodus from the country, because the people that aren't for him know they are not going to survive if they hang around there.
Dex just brought up one of the greatest points that a lot of people stopped talking about, like the day it was announced. A lot of the experts and the people that actually do the tracking, actual neutral sources that we have actually used before, because they are independent sources and people that are actually keeping track of all of the country's data. They believe that they said that we had 7 million Venezuelans during the whole TDA gang thing. They said up to 7 million had left over the past 4 years, and their population went down by this much and whatever else. They believed the day that he won, that essentially all of these people said, no, we can't do this. They literally could not do this, and that up to 10 million would go somewhere. Where do you think they would go? I will just say this, and I can't judge on what people are just by looking at them, but I have seen what I believe are a ton of Venezuelans in my city. I am in a city that certainly has a lot of benefits for certain folks, but it's crazy. If you are in Washington, if you're in a big city, go to the Walmarts, go to these places, all of a sudden you're seeing these mobile businesses open out of trunks. I'm going to get a bunch of this on video. It's crazy. There's people doing all sorts of crazy businesses straight out of a trunk, something out of a movie. At the same time, there's all of these folks from another country that are hustling. They have babies. I literally got video and pictures of this. Two of the same ladies, 2 nights in a row, had 2 different babies. So they had a baby on their back, and they had another set of 2 different babies. And they asked, and they came up. They're very aggressive. They come knock on the window. And I had my kids in the car. I'm not trying to open it, but I ended up opening it. And I need money. I need money. He's hungry. He's hungry. And I'm like, you are in the worst place ever, lady. You are in, I think it was the South Seattle. It's like there's more, shanks and shots there than any other place in that whole area. And she's sitting here with the baby. I told her that. I warned her. I said, I said, lady, you're in the worst place. I know you're hungry, you want money or food, whatever, but you are in literally the most dangerous place ever. And at 11 o'clock at night, walking around in the cold, and then another lady comes up with another baby. Oh, he's hungry, he's hungry. And these are tiny babies. I'm not even talking about a year old, 2 years old. These were in wraps, and they were brand new, fresh babies. And one thought I had going across my head is, if they get over here real quick and they have a baby, or if they come over pregnant and have a baby here, is that something that they would do on purpose because of the certain benefits if a child is born here? That child is now a U.S. born citizen. Isn't that correct, Dex? Or is that not correct?
Well, if it's born here, then yes. But are you sure they're real? Some of them have been going around.
No. It was
bundled
moving.
up, wrapped up, fake babies too.
No. These two were real, and this little guy was so cute. I did give her $5. I normally, and I have said no to these people before, but this little guy looked at me and waved, and I hope $1 out of that $5 went towards him and not some dude sitting in a car somewhere telling them all what to do. It probably was. And I could say, oh, I didn't give her any money, but I did. And I don't normally even have cash, and I scrounged for it because I saw that little guy's face. He was right at the window. He reached out for me. And I guarantee you there was 50 other people just like me that ended up doing it too. But what makes me so disgusted by it is that they are using these kids. And it's two same ladies had different kids. I saw this in a Safeway. Another time, these two ladies, I told you guys about this, they were prowling the milk aisle. They looked at me, and I was dressed really crappy. They kind of looked, and then they just kind of brushed off. They saw right past me, and they saw this guy in all workout clothes with a nice Apple phone, looked very clean cut. They went right up to him, and both of them were cute ladies in probably their 30s. They both just immediately started, oh, sir, we need food for our children and for our kids in the thing. Oh, we need food for our kids. And he said, oh, I can help you out. What was so crazy about that is I ended up getting the other side of the story, because at that same time I was there to pick up my kid, who is a checker. And what ended up happening is she ended up seeing what they bought, and she totally separately said, oh man, there's been all this shady stuff today. Said that they came through, they got over $280 or $290 worth of stuff. And then there was a gift card. There was a bunch of lettuce and all of this. And I warned you guys about this so nobody else would be got by this. They had all $290 worth of groceries, and then it was $200 worth of groceries and a $100 gift card, a Visa card. They put it in the middle of the lettuce, and then right when my daughter scanned it, the lady snatches it. Well, the other sister, the other lady, maybe sister friend, ended up distracting the guy and saying, oh, can my boy have a little candy? And turned him around. Well, she snatched the card, and then that little place where you write a check, she went under and then slipped it under, did her hand all the way around and put it in the purse. Now, for those people that were saying my daughter should have said something, they commented that. She's not allowed to say stuff, and you don't know the situation. There could be something else going on. Now, it does look obvious, but my daughter's naive and was like, why? Why is this happening? But that goes to show you that that guy didn't know about that $100 gift card. That was the whole scam. It probably wasn't even the food. The food's an extra. But then they get that gift card, they sell it to somebody for $75 cash, and then some guy, probably construction guy, takes it and goes and buys stuff with it, construction supplies or something with it. That is a scam that's just a small one that is happening. And I'm telling you, in the last few months, I've seen more people than I've ever seen before in my life. And so many scams going on at these major stores and things. So I told you guys, if you have videos of this, if you get, do your safe, independent research on this, and you get cell phone videos of this stuff, send it to us. Because I would love to show the people that are not seeing this what the hell is going on. Because I think that obviously there's a lot of words about them taking all these people out right when T-Man comes in. I bet you that's when all of the huge stuff is going to go down. That's why I'm saying to people that they should be prepping. Like, there is something massive going on here. And those people left, maybe they left under good pretenses, because maybe all of this stuff that was going on with Maduro was really bad. But at the same time, that stuff with Maduro was probably guided, probably crafted. This lady, they say that she was intercepted and taken. And then they said that she was taken. You don't take somebody, especially an opposition person who lost, unless there's a huge threat there. So this, to me, no matter, I even believed it before, but this tells me absolutely that she won. If they took her by force, Dex, wouldn't you think that means absolutely she's a threat? Why else would they take her?
Oh, yeah, of course. That's why she's been in hiding. They've been after her.
Which is crazy. You would say, oh, well, we're so much better than that. Look what's happening here. They did it just in a different way. And then U.S. warns both North Korea becoming better prepared for war fighting against Ukraine. basically they're getting their practice in. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said this. Like we said when they went there, like they're not going to be that great because they haven't fought. Like they haven't been in any conflicts. I mean, not since the old days, but those guys are all too old now. So the young groups all they've done is train. They haven't actually been to the front line, so to speak. Well, now they are. And I guess that's what, the U.S. is warning. It's like, hey, look, they're going to be battle tested, so to speak. Certainly, sure, many will, not come home or not be able to function when they do come home. But the ones that do, and the leaders and the other planners and whatnot will have a much greater experience and improve their game, so to speak, because of the efforts and what's going on in Ukraine. So on one hand, this is obviously a big threat to South Korea, and it's a big concern as it relates to what will happen when that event kicks off. And everybody is expecting that the North will probably do something to the South there in Korea.
I mean, you're talking about actual experience is 1,000 times more valuable. I'm sure any of you in the military or active or retired probably could speak to that. Any amount of drills. You could drill for 10 years and have all of the classes you can from Navy SEALs, whatever it is. It's not going to equal the same experience as it is when you are in person fighting hand-to-hand or weapon-to-weapon. So I don't know how much of that is going on, but in the North Koreans' case, they're using them as the fodder. That's at least what they're claiming they're doing with them, right? They're sending them in actual front lines. They're not using high-tech stuff. They're actually sending in 1,000 troops at once to try to just push in and do whatever damage they can. What if that's a strategy? North Korea sends all of these guys, and the ones that do come back, they're going to come back hardened veterans, right? And then you send them out against a bigger foe like South Korea or a worse foe. And then Stephen Click, thank you, says I sent Dex email. Also, what Super Chat was doing was once it realized I was saying certain words, it would only type one letter at a time and close keyboard. Need to copy and paste now. I have never heard that before. Stephanie Cook, by the way, thank you for stopping by. You've been here for years now. Thank you. Says freeze-dry wholesalers makes the best freeze-dried foods. That's not an ad for me. But hey, if they do, I will try it out. I've tried out at least 6 different kinds, and I would love to try them. If they're good, I will recommend them. And then thank you, Darren and Steve. Thank you for joining. A couple new subscribers here. Thank you, See Here Think, for hitting 19 months. That's very awesome. You were one of the first first members. And then Stephen Click, Shauna May, thank you. Trusted Source, thank you. Terry McNabb, thank you for subscribing. What a cool name, Terry McNabb. It sounds like you're a professional baller, football player or something. Is there a Terrell isn't there a McNabb? What's the McNabb? Is it Terrell McNabb? I'm pretty sure that's a guy. Carol Thompson, thank you. Lawson Pridgeon, thank you for subscribing. And then Moody Mom, thank you as well for becoming a member. And Sherry Patry, thank you. And then Keepin66, I did write a note. I missed your super chat about 6 days ago. I am so sorry. I apologize. We always thank the people. We don't ask for support, but we always thank you. So if I miss your support, then again, that's not on purpose. All right. And let's back into the news. China could devastate U.S. air power in the Pacific far more easily than the other way around. At least this is what research is saying. In a war with China, it could suppress or destroy critical American air power in the Indo-Pacific region with far fewer shots than it would take the U.S. and its allies to do the same to Beijing's air forces, a new research report argues. The report authors note that China has been working faster than the U.S. to harden its air bases and diversify its combat aircraft in the region, creating an imbalance in China's favor. American airfields are vulnerable to attack in a conflict such as a fight over Taiwan. A new Hudson Institute analysis from researchers Thomas Shugart and Timothy Walton highlights the serious threat facing U.S. installations in the Pacific and echoes the Department of Defense concerns about growing China's arsenal of missiles and those of U.S. lawmakers about inadequate defenses. It says in the report, Shugart and Walton write that China has, quote, made major investments to defend, expand, and fortify, which we have been talking about for years. Notice how everybody is talking about the fire. One thing about something like this, people call everything a psyop or ganda, but a lot of the times real news comes along with the fake stuff, right? Or there's real news buried in with all of the other stuff going on, right? Everybody is paying attention to the fire. Nobody's paying attention to China. And I've seen a pattern that China is almost always on the bottom of the list. They go through North Korea, Russia, Iran, all of these things, but they are awfully quiet about China unless they absolutely can't avoid it. Like, I don't know, say they're surrounding the island of Taiwan, or they're going through and doing something extremely hazardous, like, you know, bringing all of their ships through, you know, some sort of canal or place that is sensitive next to Japan or something, right? So in this way, I have to say, something like this is just put out there quietly alongside these giant news pieces. This research, again, a lot of these things are released on purpose and the timing is thought about. Is this accurate? Dex, I actually think this is, and especially with numbers games, right? We may have 11 carriers. I believe they have 3. They're working on their 4th. And you can say, oh, well, America will win. But when you have 3 carriers or even 4, and you have 40,000 drones, can those 11 carriers, even with all of their high-powered weaponry, take everything out? You know, will they be able to defeat sheer numbers? And a lot of folks, since they've been making now autonomous carriers that can actually launch drones, every person on the boat can perish, and they can still run and still go into war. With stuff like that, could we prepare to defeat numbers? That's one thing that kind of gets me.
Well, I think we can. I think the problem is the cost. It's going to come at a cost. I'm not talking about dollars. I'm talking about people. You know, if we, no matter how, you know, everybody looks at this idea of the U.S. versus China, and for now, everybody says the U.S. will be victorious. But at the end of the day, when you look at the details, it comes at a massive cost because they are so strong, because they have grown so much. So that's my thought. I sort of agree with that principle that at the moment we could still win, but man, it won't be easy at all.
And think about this, you know, over the last few years, we had $700 million worth of stuff. Everything we had over for the war over in the Middle East, everything was left there. The pullout was one of the most embarrassing things in our history, of course, attributed to this current pres. Not going to get into the whole who's in charge of that, but again, he was. That whole pullout left so much of our really, really good gear. I mean, we're not talking about they left a tool set or something behind. They left Hummers. They left Black Hawk helicopters. We've seen videos of them flying and learning how to use them. In fact, they're using our gear and they're learning how to defend against it. I mean, they can use that to actually study them, let alone the fact that they have now fleets of our stuff. On top of that, Ukraine went into place, and even though they weren't a NATO member, we all of a sudden just started shifting billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine. At the same time, multiple verified sources and even Fugel fan members that work in these factories and work in some of the stockpiles said they can see the floor in some of the areas in our defense, that we've been giving so much stuff out faster than we can remake it. You've got the government shutdowns almost every single time now, and the budget is bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, yet we're going further and further and further into debt, and at the same time, we're supporting another country. I mean, look at the example. All of their fire departments are fully stocked with gear, supposedly from our fire departments. Meanwhile, we've got our fire department using purses and Louis Vuittons to put out fires. It's an absolute... it's a tragedy. It is tragic. So as far as this goes, I hope that everybody is right about China, and that the second that their autonomous carrier leaves the port, it's going to fall apart because it's made out of knockoff parts from Temu. But I don't believe it. I believe they took notes directly out of the U.S.'s books. They're copying everything that we did, including in geopolitical areas. They're trying to be looking like, the next USA. They're trying to bring peace deals to the world. They're trying to be the most climate friendly. They're trying to do all these things. But how they run their country, that can never happen. I sure as hell hope that we don't have a man in the high castle situation where China and Russia win the next war and we end up under their grip. That terrifies me. And then New Orleans attackers' boom booms were designed to cause absolute carnage. This is a long time after the initial event. Of course, everybody heard about these, and I bet you, if you're like me, when I read this, it's like I almost forgot that there was these supposed boom booms set all over the place. Dex, can you explain what happened and what they're saying happened and why these things didn't go off?
Yeah, so apparently it says in the article that he built 2 of these, and they believe that the explosives that were used were so powerful that they could have sprayed shrapnel hundreds of yards and potentially, taken out or even wounded hundreds more people. So they were pretty significant in size. They go on to say that they believe that the compound RDX, which is what he was using, the experts say, he had an amateurish blunder. He used the wrong type of component to ignite it. Obviously, he may not have tested this or did anything, but he used something that was not as strong as it should have been. It should have been something more akin to a blasting cap, as they call it. So that's what failed, and that's why they did not go off, even though he tried to do that as part of his process that he was going through in that event.
So that whole thing is like he did this event, which we've seen 10 times over. I don't know if this is the first time where we've seen somebody go up on the curb or go and, because there were attacks like this before, or whatever you want to call these, right? For a few years there, it was like people were walking into stores with weapons. Then people were walking into churches. Then there were school events. Then there was this. There was these constant events. And then, the train explosives. There were all these things. And it was like, for a while there, it felt like 10 years. It was nonstop terror. Looking back and looking at how much the government is, the more that you look into it, it's just absolutely scary. But it's like, the more you look at these events, it looks like that's happening again. It's like history is repeating itself. And we're going down this cycle where we're going to see event after event after event. This one, I don't know if this is the first time that I remember seeing where they were trying to use a vehicle as a weapon and setting boom booms off at the same time. Was there another one like this? I feel like there was maybe one. It was a bigger event at the White House or something, but maybe I'm tripping. Sounds like if Dex isn't remembering, it probably doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm not finding it.
So, yeah. They says as horrible as it is that he took those lives and injured all of these people, it could have been exponentially worse in the truest sense of the term had these devices actually functioned. Gosh, what were they about to do? And then, so both of these guys flubbed up their bomb school. The other guy, he just used the wrong vehicle. The Cybertruck was so tough it contained all of it. The glass windows on the tower, which were only a few feet away, they didn't even break. I don't know if that's something to say good about T-Man Tower, about the glass they use, or if it's a Cybertruck ad. But either way, both of the events on the New Year's Day got screwed up. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace Medical if you haven't already. Something like this can be very, very important. If you don't have antibiotics on hand, it is a very smart thing to do. And just simply, this is a very easy way to do it from the comfort of your couch. You can get a Jace case. It has all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. So if something happens, you have it on hand. It is very simple. That, in particular, out of all the things here, food, water, and medicine. Those are 3 things that you should really look at first before getting any kind of crazy generator system or anything else. I would highly recommend, doing it in that order: food, water, and then medicine. But that's, again, just my recommendation. I'm an amateur prepper compared to some of these guys, to some of my friends, like Survival Living. He's taking class after class. But one thing I can tell you, as an idiot in the prepping world, compared to all of these guys with thousands of hours of training, is medicine and antibiotics is a huge deal. Especially when something that is solved with 7 days straight of an antibiotic that could have taken a life, a number of years ago before we had them. So go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Again, make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you save money on any of the kits, but you will also help us. You can also add in things like albuterol, emergency inhalers. There's all sorts of other things on there. You can go look at the list yourself over on marfooglenews.com/Jace. Highly recommend, if you have a regular medication that you have to have, that you are dependent on. Jace Daily is also something to look at. Highly recommended. It is 12-month extended supply of your regular meds. If I would also think about family members, if they have to take something, then make sure to go check that out. You'll get an entire year of your regular meds, and you can rotate your own meds into it, so you'll always have a year of your medicine. Power goes off tomorrow, you'll be covered. And then Kim Jong-un cracks down on sale of hot dogs in North Korea with a penalty of time in a labor camp. Dex, I would think if you're North Korean that's kind of like a slap on the wrist compared to being put in front of an anti-air gun or something.
Well, yeah, you don't watch Friends, but eat a hot dog, I guess, if you're going to do something Western. But yeah, he's reportedly banned everyone from eating hot dogs as part of a crackdown on the Western culture infiltrating the Hermit Kingdom. So he's declared that serving the sausage was an act of treason. People caught selling or cooking hot dogs face the prospect of time in the country's infamous labor camps, while Pyongyang has also decreed that divorcees could also be jailed. So I guess that also goes with the hot dogs. If you get divorced, you're going to jail. You eat a hot dog, you're going to the labor camp.
I could see it now. Eat hot dogs, get flogged. Or no, eat hot dog, get flogged. No, none of that grammatically works. What are they going to do if they find them eating popcorn? That's also a staple of the Americana, right?
So
popcorn, you get popped?
Yeah, no, it came across, it's actually part of their culinary. It came across back in the 50s. It was called the Spicy Korean American Hot Pot, which basically means an army-based stew. And it included hot dogs or Spam, among many other ingredients. So that's how it sort of made its way in. And it's been eaten for a while, but now no more. And I don't know if Spam's on the list, but I'm guessing it might be.
No, thank you, ma'am. That's super Spam. I'm trying so hard to come up with a good rhyme, but it's just not happening. If you want to put a good rhyme in the chat, go ahead. But before that, drop an M for the mods in the chat. That would be absolutely awesome. Neil Nelson, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate you, and thank you. And again, thank you for gifting memberships. Seriously, thank you, Neil. Thank you to many of the people that have been here for many years, supporting me since I was doing these videos out of my car on my break. So thank you, guys. I love you. All right, and then and then just to go over what else, there was something else that I forgot to add, didn't I? I did forget to add it. I do have Steven's email that he's been trying to get to us. If you want to grab that, it's in up next. And there's a tweet that goes with it. Okay, let's do it. I feel like I'm forgetting one of the stories. I forgot to send you the tweet, dang it. KTLA reporter on the street interviewing people asked someone, "What's your name, sir?" I'll go to the email before that. That's the follow-up. Okay, let me pause this here. Oh my gosh, I know that person. I won't show it yet. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay, so I'm just getting the email. Hold on. Am I doing this wrong? Okay, I got it. Okay, so this is Stephen Click, one of our longtime Fugel fam. Hey, thank you again, by the way. Anyone can do this. So remember that. If you're new to the Fugel fam, I want to hear from all of you. This is not, it's not long-time people only. And if you're new and you feel like everybody's clicked up in the chat, just keep coming back. I guarantee you'll find awesome people down there. Steve Gutenberg, which you probably recognize that name, was unknowingly interviewed on the streets of L.A. about the fires. He was the star of new Holocaust movie The Day After. I haven't seen that one. Jeez. Kamala referenced his movie in a speech the other day in a Jason A video. In a speech shown in a Jason A video the other day, Kamala said that the day after must commence, but not until is taken out of power. In the movie, quote, The Day After, Steve Gutenberg character survived the nuclear fallout, but his face and body was all smoky in the movie. And that's how he looked the other day, being unknowingly interviewed about the Cali fires on the streets of Cali. Look up Steve Gutenberg, LA fires. That is freaking crazy. Okay, so let me go to this other piece here. This is the tweet. So let me pause this here. So that's Steve Gutenberg being interviewed about the fires. This is the KTLA guy. So this guy was the one who I was talking about, same reporter. The woman had snuck past the police. Instead of saying, oh, well, you probably shouldn't do that. He was like, no, I get you. I understand. No, I'm totally with you. You could tell, you could feel his support. Which brings me to another thing that I wanted to point out earlier, is that these local newscasters have essentially been very openly really dismayed at all of this. Even the local newscasters are not sticking with their normal, professional, oh, back to you, Ted. They're actually visibly perturbed by this fire. So that tells you something when it's getting through all of that, and there's actually some real people out there that are responding to it. But KTL reporter on the street interviewing people asked someone, "What's your name, sir?" Didn't realize it was a famous actor, Steve Gutenberg. "Thank you for helping out, Steve. Always a class act." Mahoney to the rescue. Oh my gosh, I forgot that was Steve Gutenberg. One of the best movies ever. All of them were. Especially the one with the beatboxing guy. Police Academy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 15. Steve Gutenberg was great in those. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. He was in a lot of 80s movies. If you don't know who Steve Gutenberg, or if you're too young to know who Steve Gutenberg is, I'd highly recommend going and watching at least the first 3 Police Academies. Whichever one were the beatboxing guy, I remember thinking that was so cool, and looking back at my looping hobby, it might be kind of back to that. But the robot guy that would go, just watch a clip of that if you want to see an impressive talent. And back then it was fresh, and everybody was like, wow, I can't believe he does that. Now you flip through YouTube and you see 1,000 people doing it. But yeah, Steve Gutenberg, that's weird. That is, do you guys think, and let's do a vote in the chat, do you think that something truly prophetic is happening right now? Do you think that everything that is happening right now, that something bigger is coming? Give me your true opinion. You don't have to jump on the bandwagon with everybody else. Give me your opinion. Do you think that something massive is coming? And I know most of you think planned, or that this is going along some sort of preordained path. Do you think something is about to go down? And do you think that there is some very prophetic things happening right now? Dex, by the way, thank you. I love you. Thank you so much for your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And make sure, if you guys haven't already, I would highly recommend going and checking out Grid Down if you are looking to get yourself into a generator. Like I said, food, water, and medicine first. But if you want to outfit yourself with one of the best solar generators out there with a high capacity, then go to marfuglenews.com/bugout. These, again, are a great investment. They are all EMP shield protected right off the bat. So whatever device you're looking at, all of the prices for those devices are including EMP shield protection. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/bugout. Make sure to use the code MARF. Thank you to our awesome mods. Thank you to everybody over on X. Thank you to people on Rumble. Thank you to everybody over on D-Live, which brings me to Laura Griffith, Terra Firma, Kimbria, Chance Paladin. Thank you for holding it down over there again. Kimbria, hi fam, missed everyone. I missed you guys too, and thank you. A lot of people have been showing up since we had that hiatus. So thank you, much love. Dex, again, thank you, and you guys have a wonderful night. We will see you tomorrow. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro, it's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Politicians, not for office, but from burning bridges. Hopefully you understand this easy mission. You got your weapon, but you haven't chipped in. Ones that should be running politicians, not for office, but from burning bridges. Hopefully you understand this easy mission. You got your weapon, but you haven't chipped in. Ones that should be running politicians, not for office, but from burning bridges. Hopefully you understand this easy mission. You got your weapon, but you haven't chipped in.